Thanks.
Good to go? All right. All right. Sorry for the delay. It's around 5:45 this March 16th, 2026. We're here for a public hearing for proposed text amendment, mixed-use, high-density development. Nathan, you're already coming up, but I do have to read a few things, so if you don't mind, no, it's all good. So, all right. So, just a reminder, their ADA listening devices are available with Jeremiah, so just keep that in mind. Tonight's public hearing is on mixed-use height in non-residential areas. The purpose of this meeting is to give the public an opportunity to provide feedback on this topic. Comments not specific to this advertised subject of this public hearing may be shared during the public session period later on at the council meeting following this hearing. To give everyone a chance to speak, I will gently remind everyone who veers off topic that they can share their remarks during the council meeting. And also, each speaker shall be limited to 5 minutes unless the city council authorizes one extension of 3 minutes. And like we always say, and it's not up there, but obviously we're in a professional environment. Let's stay professional. So that's without having to say that. So shouldn't have to say that. So Nathan, I'm gonna turn it over to you. So enough of me talking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tonight, I would like to move our conversation from conflict to clarity. Clemson's growth is our reality, but the direction of that growth is a choice that we can make together. I recognize that this conversation is happening against a backdrop of significant public concern. Over the last few days, our community has seen a lot of speculation online regarding what these changes actually mean, proving that height is not just about bricks and mortar, it's about the feel of our community. To move forward, we must ground our vision in facts rather than emotion. My goal tonight is to be 100% transparent, both about the math, the geography, and the protections built into this ordinance. We have to acknowledge that our present is tense, but if we commit to facts, our future can be predictable. Still, we must first acknowledge that our past is complicated. Our original precedent, the Clemson House, even though it sat just outside the city limits in 1950, its impact was undeniable. Perched on a hill at 7 stories plus a 2-story penthouse, it didn't just sit near downtown, it loomed over it. This wasn't a gradual change, it was a massive urban shift that replaced 5 homes and an existing hotel to set a density precedent we're still referencing today. An initial signal, 391 College Avenue, completed in 2006, positioned in the heart of the C commercial district, this project was a bridge between eras. It arrived a full decade before our current commercial mixed use or CM zoning, signaling the first real break from the 1970s status quo. This was the moment that the market shifted toward the vertical mixed use model that we'll be discussing tonight. The new standard in 2008, it began in 2008 but wasn't complete until about 2011. 393 College Avenue followed suit. At 5 stories, this wasn't just another building, it was proof of concept. It confirmed that the height of 391 College was not just a fluke, it was a new baseline for our corridor. For the first time, developers weren't just building, they were consistently hitting the ceiling of our legacy code. And finally, the threshold shift. The Courtyard Marriott in 2009. 6 stories built directly against a residential line by replacing a legacy local business. This project signaled that the Clemson House era of bold height was back. It set the modern standard for how we navigate the friction between high-density commercial and quiet neighborhood edges. Context, this is Clemson's zoning landscape as of March 2026. Our regulatory foundation is the General Commercial, or C District. It dates back to our 1970s code. For decades, its prescribed 65-foot height maximum remained largely academic. This was a sleeper regulation that wasn't truly tested until modern market pressures began to challenge that ceiling. This takes a second to clear up, but here's a map of our C District. You will notice that to the right of this area, we see PD 17, which is 114 Earl. As a planned development, it bypassed the legacy C district constraints to achieve a scale that sits at the very heart of today's debate. It serves as our most visible test case for how vertical density impacts a legacy commercial core. Introduced in August 2014, the Commercial Mixed Use, or CM District, represents a pivotal shift in Clemson's development strategy. It was designed to foster a vibrant, walkable urban core within reach of the university, prioritizing vertical integration over traditional horizontal sprawl. By applying smart growth principles, the 2014 and 2019 comprehensive plans officially embrace compact vertical development. This strategy directly equates density with height, establishing a new regulatory ceiling to strategically accommodate our rapid urbanization. This takes even longer to clear up. There it goes. Looking at the CM map, we can identify 4 planned developments immediately adjacent to this district. Sunset at Valley Walk, 2007, 412 College, 2023, The Hub, 2024, and the Rambler, 2025. While the CM District provided the strategic framework, these projects utilize the PD process to refine and in many cases exceed the baseline standards. This cluster represents the most significant vertical surge in Clemson's history. Now conflict, or the friction of growth. Between 2015 and 2017, theory became reality. Campus View, which was done by Wright, and projects like the Earl and the Youth Center, both PDs, moved height from the zoning map into the skyline. This was the tipping point for public scrutiny. Campus View, this is the by right impact, showing what the code allowed without a single public hearing. Youth Center is the scale impact, showing how the PD process dramatically altered the horizon. And the Earl is the density impact, completing the wall of verticality that has triggered the current pushback. These projects fundamentally changed the visual scale of downtown Clemson, leading to the public pushback we see today. To move toward clarity, we must first understand the opposition to height. Many residents cite the loss of Old Clemson, but while building height is a visible target, it is often a proxy for a deeper concern, which is student housing saturation. Height has become the lightning rod for our collective anxiety over growth, and because it's so visible, it's the easiest lever to pull. It is completely understandable that neighbors feel frustrated by the scale of student growth, but attacking the height to stop students is like attacking a thermometer because you don't like the heat wave. It doesn't change the temperature, it just leaves us without the instrument we need to regulate it. The Bixby, proposed in 2020 and completed in 2022, and the Shepherd Hotel, proposed in 2020 and completed in 2022. The current height debate didn't start in a vacuum. It was sparked by the backlash towards 2 developments, the Bixby and the Shepherd Hotel. Both stand at 6 stories, and crucially, both were built by right. They met our code, and they didn't ask for exceptions. The backlash proved that our baseline code, without any special exceptions, was already capable of producing a scale that felt incompatible with old Clemson. In December 2021, we hit the brakes. Council passed a text amendment that slashed the maximum height from 65 feet to just 3 stories. This was explicitly stated as a stopgap, a 180-day pause to study new standards. But it wasn't just a height cut, it was a technical rewrite. We shifted the metric from feet to stories, while simultaneously tightening the definition of a story itself. It was a double restriction. The 180-day promise that was made nearly 5 years ago. The sunset clause never arrived. Today, we are attempting to run a 2026 economy on a 2021 temporary emergency rule. This isn't planning, it's a permanent state of emergency that has outlived its purpose. I want to reiterate how we got here for maximum clarity. The intent was a 180-day stopgap study for new standards across town. The reduction, height was slashed from 65 feet to 3 stories. The fine print was that we changed the measurement from feet to stories, making the restriction from stories to feet, making the restriction even tighter than it appeared. And the reality is that we now operate under a five-year-old temporary rule that remains our active regulatory standard. Enter the PD. With the plan development process, Clemson traded the blunt instrument of by right caps for a precision tool of discretion. The intent was simple: to move away from rigid, arbitrary limits toward site-specific excellence. Following the roadmap of Clemson Next, this framework allowed the city to stop guessing and start collaborating. We created a marketplace for value. We traded vertical density for tangible public benefits, enhanced streetscapes, upgraded infrastructure, and community assets that the legacy code could simply not demand. The resulting heights weren't a lack in oversight, they were a strategic evolution. From Moda to the Rambler, we saw the skyline built by design, not by accident. This process proved that the PD framework was the only tool capable of unlocking the scale required for a truly walkable, compact urban core. It sent a clear message: static limits are not enough to match the momentum of a Tier 1 university town. The problems: the math simply doesn't add up. Our vision for decades has called for a compact, vertical core, but our code hits a ceiling at 3 stories. In a market where land is a premium asset, a 3-story project isn't just unfeasible, it's a financial impossibility. This creates a forced dependency on the plan development process. We have effectively turned the PD framework from a specialized tool into the only viable path forward for any investment in downtown Clemson. If we want the density our own strategic plans require, we cannot continue to treat financial survival as a special case. By keeping our baseline code at an unworkable level, we aren't protecting the town, we are ensuring that every single development becomes a high-stakes, discretionary battle. We have made the exception the only way to do business in Clemson. Problems continued. The data is clear. We've tried traditional breaks. We've enacted some of the highest development impact fees in the state. We have seen total turnover on this council and the Planning Commission, and we have experienced significant shifts in city staff and leadership. Yet none of these measures have slowed the fundamental demand for development in Clemson. This proves that we aren't facing a personnel problem, we are facing a structural market reality. High fees and leadership changes haven't changed the underlying economics. They've only added friction to an already tense process. It's time to acknowledge that our current code is simply not equipped to handle the demand facing our region, let alone our town. If we want to move from conflict to clarity, we have to stop trying to hold back the tide with a broken levee. We must fix the code to finally direct that flow. The consequences of restriction. We have to be honest about the math. As Clemson Next has made clear, shutting down development is neither a practical nor legal solution. All it accomplishes is pushing growth into the county and our neighboring towns. This creates a transit paradox. People still need to reach the university and work in our service sector, but now they are forced to drive. By pushing residents further from their destination, we aren't protecting Clemson, we are guaranteeing maximum traffic and permanent congestion. Furthermore, our current friction model has resulted in ad hoc growth. Because we lack clear by right standards for height, we are left with inconsistencies. We see mismatched buffers, unpredictable step backs, and arbitrary parking requirements. This lack of a systematic code is the very source of the conflict we see today. The solution isn't to stop the growth, it is to provide the clarity that ensures the growth is orderly, predictable, and integrated into the fabric of our community. The greatest enemy of good planning isn't height, it's ambiguity. Right now, we are trapped in an anxiety loop. Because our code is silent on what's actually allowed, everyone is operating in a state of high stress. Citizens fear the unknown, developers fear the shifting goalposts, and you, our elected officials, are forced to make high-stakes decisions continually in a constant pressure cooker. This uncertainty creates a vacuum, and that vacuum is inevitably filled by misinformation and distrust. When there is no clear rule of law in our zoning code, people don't see a process, they see a conspiracy. They assume that the system is rigged when in reality it's just undefined. To move from conflict to clarity, we must replace this anxiety with a predictable, transparent, and data-driven code that everyone, neighbor and builder alike, can understand from day one. Ultimately, this cycle results in one thing: universal anger. We have reached the point where everyone loses. The developer is angry because the rules feel like moving targets. The citizen's angry because the skyline changes in ways they never anticipated. And you, our officials, and our staff are angry because we are all caught in the middle of the crossfire of an ambiguous code. This isn't an emotional problem, it's a functional failure. When a community operates out of anger, we lose the ability to have rational conversations about the future of our community. We stop looking at the benefits of density and start treating every single project like a battlefield, a zero-sum game where no one is satisfied unless the other side loses. This is the why behind the entire presentation tonight. We cannot build a great city on a foundation of mutual frustration. We must replace this anger with a clarity of a code that actually works for everyone. Clarity is the antidote to the anxiety we've discussed. It means replacing the negotiated surprises of the past with transparent standards that everyone, citizens and developers alike, can understand and rely on. But first, a reminder, as this has come up many times over the weekend. This city council, all of you, codified enhanced buffer yard standards on October 6, 2025. These new standards require any mixed-use development adjacent to an R20 or R12 zone property to maintain a 30-foot buffer. However, if that development raises over 4 stories, that buffer must increase to 40 feet. With that in mind, the path to clarity is direct. We must codify the standards. For years, we have used the PD process to discover what works on a case-by-case basis. But that constant negotiation is exactly what fuels the anger we see today. Clarity means taking the lessons we've learned and baking them into our baseline code. When we move these requirements from the negotiation table to the rule book, height is no longer a surprise. It becomes a predictable, well-designed part of our core. It becomes something that happens by right and not by exception. This ordinance achieves that by establishing by right certainty, providing a clear legal path for density that ends the anxiety loop for everyone, standardizing parking, mandating consistent numbers while requiring additional public parking on top of commercial needs, turning a private requirement into a community benefit, enforcing the downtown plan, removing the guesswork here by requiring developers to execute the city's specific hard-won vision for our corridors, and finally, protecting our neighborhoods by mandating architectural stepbacks wherever a structure touches a residential zone, ensuring we maintain a human scale where it matters most. This is the geography of clarity. This is not a blanket height increase, it's a strategic blueprint. By maintaining and I have a map in a second, but by maintaining a 2-story cap on the core of College Avenue, we are anchoring Old Clemson exactly where it matters most. We are protecting the heart of our town. However, that preservation is only possible if we provide a pressure valve elsewhere. We do that by unlocking our growth corridors, by returning to a 5-story baseline from Keith Street to 123 and along Highways 93 with a rigorous high investment path to 7 stories. We provide the vertical density needed to support a truly walkable, transit-oriented downtown. This isn't about allowing more height everywhere, it's about precision geography. We are directing density to the areas with the infrastructure to carry it. We are ensuring that Clemson's growth is high quality, high value, and by right, not by chance. On this map, you'll see the red areas are 2 stories. The orange areas are 3 stories with an option to buy up to 5. And the green areas are 5 stories with an option to buy to 7. Why 7 stories? It's a natural breaking point. 7 is not arbitrary, it's a structural reality. Current building codes allow for a 2-story concrete podium, which is ideal for structured parking and the retail we demand in our downtown core and portions of our other code, with a 5-story wood frame of construction above it. The economics of parking. A 3-story building cannot afford a $10 million parking deck. A 7-story building can. By allowing those extra floors, we pay for the structured parking that hides cars from our streets and eliminates the sprawl of surface lots. Youth diversity. I hear from boutique hotel developers constantly. To recoup the high land costs on College Avenue or 93, they need 7 stories to be profitable, yet they aren't willing to gamble years on a PD process that might fail. If we want diverse uses, not just more student beds, we have to align our code with the reality of the market. And the ceiling. If we cap at 5, we lose the podium parking. If we go to 9, costs skyrocket into steel and concrete. So 7 is the Goldilocks number for high quality, mid-rise urbanism. This is how we get there. Development bonus. We're moving from a negotiation model to an entitlement model. And this has changed. I'll explain in a second. This has changed from what Planning Commission viewed because I was challenged that evening by a resident, and it turns out that they were exactly right. We're moving from a negotiation model to an entitlement model. The cost of time. I said building is expensive, so why add a fee? Because the greatest cost in development isn't concrete, it's uncertainty. Currently, a developer can spend years in some cases and a fortune in soft costs, in interest, legal fees, and design, just to see if council likes their project. That isn't a process for a developer, it's a gamble. By right certainty, we are offering a trade. We remove the political risk and the guessing game. In exchange, the developer funds the public's needs. This replaces the invisible political tax of the PD process with a transparent community benefit fee. And it's a market clearing price. We didn't pull $30 out of a hat. We looked at cities, very restrictive cities like Boulder, Colorado, whose development fee here is nearly $50, and calibrated our number to be very aggressive but also realistic. This is a price that captures value for the public without killing a project's feasibility. We aren't making development harder, we are making it clearer. We are ensuring that if a developer wants the privilege of building high, they must pay for the infrastructure that makes that density sustainable. As a case study, to see how this works in the real world, we have to look at math, using an average downtown build as our case study. Under this proposed clarity code, we create 2 distinct paths for vertical density, for vertical growth to move us away from the negotiated surprises of the path. Path A is an incentive for diversity for hotels. We know that other uses downtown are a top priority for this community, but the math is a non-starter at 3 stories. To usher in this use, we allow hotels to reach the 7-story sweet spot by right without the fee. We don't charge the density fee here because the public benefit is the use itself. Diversifying our downtown, increasing our tourism tax base, and bringing non-student beds to our core. Path B is the value capture, mixed use and residential. For mixed use projects, the type of development that has historically caused the most friction, the path to height is different. To go above the 5-story baseline to a 7-story maximum, the developer must trigger a value capture. Using the average footprint for a mixed-use build downtown, there's a win-win. The developer wins because they get 7 stories they need for financial feasibility without a lengthy PD process. And the city wins at $30 a square foot for those bonus floors. The city receives about $2.8 million in a dedicated fund for city improvements. If they don't want to pay, and can somehow make the building work at 5 stories, either way, the community needs are met, either through scale or massive infrastructure funding. The bottom line is, at 3 stories, these projects are financial non-starters that force everyone into a political battle. At 7 stories, they become profitable enough to buy their way into the community. This isn't a contradiction, it's a partnership. We are using height as a tool, either as a magnet to attract the things that we want, or as a revenue stream to mitigate the impact of the density we expect. Either way, the real winner is our community. Conclusion. We have reached a point where distrust has filled the vacuum left by an outdated zoning code. Tonight, I'm presenting an opportunity that we all have to close that void. We need to choose intentionality over reaction. Clemson is only 8 square miles, and every acre is precious. Land is our most finite commodity. Vertical density is the only path that protects our green space while sustaining the walkable downtown we've all worked to build. I know this is a shift. I know it's controversial, But we cannot continue to plan or lead this city through a cycle of mutual frustration. Let's end the era of negotiated surprises and give Clemson the rules, the revenue, and the predictability that it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so this is just a reminder on public hearing. Comments must be limited to issues within the city council's jurisdiction. Speakers are asked to be mindful of repeating points that have already been addressed. Speakers may not speak on behalf of others, and you may not donate, transfer, yield, or give your speaking time to others. And again, 5 minutes, and the floor is yours. We're here to listen and take notes. Please identify yourself. Jeremiah's got the list. Do we have anybody that signed in advance? Jeremiah?
And do we have a timer?
Jeremiah, did anybody sign in advance? Okay, that's what I want to make sure. Thank you.
Oh, here, I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong
Got it?
spot. Yep.
Thank you, Nick. You're doing it all right now.
Good afternoon. And again, Nathan, I think this presentation was better than you did last time. Really, really good presentation, maybe the best presentation I've seen come out of this, any of the meetings that I've ever attended. You can give me that 20 afterwards. So where do you put students? Because on campus ain't the answer. We've kicked that can down the road since I've been here. Everybody's always said, let's put them on campus. They're not going to do that.
Can you
It's
speak a little
evident.
louder, please? I can't hear.
Yep. So where do you put students?
Okay.
On campus is not it. So you gotta put them.
Rick, hold on.
You want us?
We still, remember, just a reminder, we have the ADA devices if anybody needs them. If anybody needs,
I'm not hard of hearing, I just
Okay.
projecting.
we just want to make sure, okay. But we have that opportunity if you want. All right, Rick, sorry.
No problem.
Yep.
So as close as possible, that's where we gotta put them. Where do you put students if you don't want traffic on 123? You gotta put them downtown. So this is our opportunity at this time really to get this right. I know nobody wants height, but we are a city. And when we look at what happened in Greenville, Greenville has grown. There's not 5-story buildings, there's 10, 12-story buildings. So let's get this right. I challenged them, I think we need to go taller. I think there's areas that sit in lower elevation that have that opportunity to go taller. Short buildings create sprawls. That's what we have seen. I remember at one point we talked about smart growth and stopping the sprawl. We have to do this, and the only way you stop a sprawl is by putting it on less dense and going up. You are creating that dense. And I see it as we are protecting other areas of our city. If we could put all the students downtown, we're protecting all this other available land. I know where there's Miss Alma's property, and I know Alma won't do it, but we're not gonna be here forever. Most of us will not be here in 40 years. That started in 1971, 55 years ago. And most of us won't be here. Lillian probably will, she'll be able to see it. But this is our opportunity to get this and get it right and protect our future, especially with these other large tracts. I know Issaquahia's got some property out there. So I think we're right on. Let's not kick the can down the road anymore.
Thank you.
Stephanie Platt, Mountain View Lane. I was just wondering, were you comparing Colorado to Clemson?
Yes.
How can you do that? Because Colorado is a whole lot larger than Clemson is. That's a whole different, like, terrain. I'm just not understanding how you compare Colorado and Clemson. So. And plus, I think you could, not put student housing downtown. You could, build student housing outward and bus students in to the university if you really wanted to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Rupert, 206 North Clemson. Nathan gave a very thorough presentation, but I found some holes in it, I think. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But we need to look at what's the growth going to be before we talk about going to 7 stories to 5 stories. And no one brought up where we're going to be at in the year 2045. We need to think about a 20-year projection, not a 2-year, 5-year projection. And I've got a handout. I didn't make enough of them, but basically it's about student growth. Okay, what is student growth going to be at 2%? Well, it's just like when you put money in the bank. If it grows at 2% compounded, you're going to have a larger amount of money in the bank in 20 years. So we're at 29,000 students right now. And the board of directors wants 2%. They've established that. Doesn't matter who the president is of the university. We all know that, I think. And so 2% growth, we're looking at almost 700 people a year on average, if you look at it compounded wise, for the next 20 years. We're looking at another 14,000 students. Okay, and so when Nathan talks about we have to go from 5 to 7, or we've got to go high density, okay, well, how many acres of land are we talking about here? As he mentioned, we've got 8 square miles of land, and you want the student to be within, I guess, 0.6 miles of the campus to walk, I'm guessing. But so when I'm saying you're very, very restricted on what you can do, your hands are really tied. And let's talk about the numbers, getting back to what I was saying. If we go to 14,000 people, people think, oh yeah, that's not too bad. We can do 14,000, no problem. Okay, well, just to give an idea, we all drive past Moda every day, just about. We look at Moda sitting out of state. It's on 2 acres of land, and I believe it's 500 people. I think it's 500 people. Is that right? So how many Modas will we need if we're going to get 16,000 more students in downtown Clemson? Well, you'll divide 16,000 students by 500 each, you come out to be 28 more Modas. So how can Nathan say we're going to put 28 more Modas in downtown Clemson? And let's say, well, we'll make it twice the height of Moda. Moda's 5 stories, make it 10 stories, say. Okay, so we'll need 14 more Modas in downtown Clemson. We can't do that. And how many square acres of land if we did with Modas? If we just made Modas, we made the 28 more Modas. It'd be 28 Modas times 2 acres of land. That'd be 56 acres of land. We don't have 56 acres of land in downtown Clemson. You can drive think about it, there are 19,000 residents, and there's 16,000 more students coming in. So you can almost imagine, just visualize how big that is. It's huge. It's almost the entire population of Clemson. And so what I'm saying is that my vision of the future of Clemson is, A, we need to talk to the university about their land that is around the Armory. That's within walking distance of Clemson. The ironic problem here is we are tight on land, university is rich in land. So someone's got to step up and say, listen, we want to meet your demand, but you need to work with us. You need to meet us halfway. The university's got to needs to talk to Clemson about building that land along Highway 93. Because if we built where the blood plasma center is, the old Winn-Dixie, the old blood plasma center now, we could put a lot of student housing right there, and that, to me, is within walking distance, or at least electric scooter distance to Clemson. And that takes all this pressure off damaging the character of Clemson that we love. So what I'm saying is that even if you went ahead and did what Nathan's talking about, we go 7 stories in downtown Clemson, you can build as much as you want. It's not going to be enough. Who has the numbers showing me what it's going to look like in year 2045? No one's got a picture of that. It's one building here, one building there. Oh yeah, we're going high density. Okay, tell me where the 28 acres is. Where's the 28
We
acres?
need to wrap it up.
Thank you
Yes,
very
sir.
much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Robert Lee, I live at 113 Presley Drive in Clemson. I basically am in favor of this. I think it's about I don't have a better idea, given that there are, and I don't really understand all the wide range of things there are on a small scale and on a bigger county-wide state scale growth. So I think overall it's a good plan to get this into written law with agreed upon meetings as much as possible. One thing came into my mind though was going conflict to clarity and eliminating as much as possible this universal anger. I don't think there are really solutions sometimes. There are just trade-offs. And I think this is about the best trade-offs that, like I say, I don't have any better idea of trade-offs to make, given all the circumstances and all the things we face. So I want to comment about height, though, just not for or against, but when we're looking at height of buildings, I looked at the Abernathy Park and the lake level is at about, 660. So it's difference in altitude. If you look at height, I don't think there's any addressing of it as what we know as AGL, or above ground level height, or above MSL, above sea level. So a 75-foot building at Abernathy Park is going to be only 10 to 15 feet above ground up at the intersection of College Avenue 93. So that's a consideration I have. But if we're looking at skyline height, do we say just this across the board 75 feet or 60 feet or stories period, going up and down the hill, that skyline is going to taper down. So we say, well, at these lower elevations, do we want to allow this lower height to keep the skyline level? And that's one thought I had about all this that might be addressed that I don't see is. But I mean, that would accommodate higher heights without affecting the skyline so much. I don't know if that's clear enough. But anyway, I just think it's, we're facing a lot of things here, a lot of trade-offs, and I think we have to do everybody to understand that there are real solutions that please everybody. There are just trade-offs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Linda Gahan, 101 Martin Street. I had come today to find out information about this change, and I think it is long overdue. It should have been done when we initially started building Clemson. When the Campus View Apartments started this whole idea of providing apartments for students and downtown. One thing, and you had a point which you made, what is the need? I think that should be a driving force to your change, to have a perspective for the next 20 years. Can you say that your changes will be good for the next 20 years? Do you think you can say that? Okay, the other thing that angers the people that live in this community that have lived here a long time is the traffic and the parking. Right now,
Ms. Gahan,
the departments,
make sure we're still talking about height here.
okay, well, I
so
would
let's make
like
sure-
to add parking.
And you can, and we can also have city council public comments as well. So,
Okay.
so we just make sure we stay on target for this public hearing, make sure everybody gets the opportunity to speak.
Okay, I'd like to ask you, are any plans to address that?
The parking part.
Right.
You can actually, in public session, which will be right after this public hearing, we can talk about traffic or other, you
Well,
can
that
express.
gets me into 7 o'clock to my dinner hour.
Or I'll give you another option as well. You can also always submit comments
There is a
through my,
parking component to this, is
Yeah.
there not?
How do I do that?
There is a parking portion to this.
so we can do, so go ahead. All right, so let's make sure.
I'm just saying, I
Yeah,
would
go-
like an identical analysis for parking. I would like to know how it's working out right now when you're not giving a parking place for everybody who has a bed. I can see people parking up on Bradley Street where you close that street, the students are parking up there. So
No, that
I'd
helps.
like to see an analysis done, like you did for height.
And Ms. Gahan, thank you very much, because we did talk about the arbitrary parking aspect, about how it's being determined.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Marnie McGee, and I live at 249 Riggs Drive. And I just have a question. Is there something advantageous to change from height to stories? I read a little bit about that before I came. I was just trying to understand that.
This particular portion of the meeting is for you to ask questions. I can address that in the discussion item that will come later on in the meeting.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
But I'll make a note.
Okay,
If you want to
thank you,
interrupt.
by the way. That was a wonderfully informative presentation. Appreciate that.
And I'll add, on that discussion item, it will be obviously live streamed, so you can watch it at home. And so that will be later on this evening. I can't tell you exactly what time.
That's okay.
Or, of course, you can watch it tomorrow too, because it also, you can pull it
Well,
up.
thank you.
So, yep,
Thanks. That was
yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
While we're waiting, I'm gonna read one that was submitted to us. And no, it's fine. I got glasses. So this was submitted from Fran McGuire, 103 Rippleview Drive. This is related to, okay, right here. Why is the proposed text amendment beneficial to the residents of Clemson? That was the comment that was submitted. Other comments? Last chance. If not, we'll close out this public hearing. It is 6.
I want
Oh, yeah, no, let me make sure, yep, let me make sure. If there was anything that needs to be clarified, thank you, then Andy or Nathan, I don't want to put y'all on the spot, but is there anything that needs to be clarified based on what y'all heard?
He's not gonna cover later on.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you very much. All right, at this time, we'll close this public hearing. We'll reconvene, we'll just take a very short 5-minute break. So 6:35, so we'll reconvene at 6:35. Thank you very much. All right, good evening again for the ones that are new. Good evening the first time here. It's March 16th. We're for our regular city council meeting. It's good to see everybody. We have a big group waiting. So we will call this meeting to order. We'll start off with the invocation and pledge. You're more than welcome to join me in prayer. Lord, thank you for this community. We ask for your blessing upon this meeting. Bless our city team, our citizens, our businesses, and our efforts this evening. Guide our thoughts and direct our hearts towards justice and service. Finally, let all that is done here be for the betterment of our city. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You'll notice on the agenda that we have, we're going to just swap one thing real quickly here. We're going to go first to the recognition of our 2 state champions. You can clap if you want to. So we're first going to bring in the 10 and under girls. They're going to come on in. Jay, you got them?
Is Claire here? No. Oh, okay, that's right. She's.
Yeah. Do you want me to? You got it? Okay. All right.
All right.
The jingle, the coaches are here. All right, so I get the honor of reading this real quickly, coaches and team. Congratulations. First of all, this is congratulations to the Central Clemson 10U girls for winning the South Carolina Athletic Program State Championship on March 8th. The 10U girls started things off with a convincing 29-12 win over Richland County, then beat North Charleston 31-24 in the semifinals. Then they beat, bless you, they beat North Charleston once again 32-18, and larger defeat there, I love that, to claim the state championship. This was Central's and Clemson's first ever state championship in the 10U girls age division. Congratulations. Coaches, would you like to say anything? You don't have to. It's up to you.
Proud of these girls.
Yes, yay.
Are you okay if we come around and take a moment? We'll stand up behind you. How's that sound? All right. Yep, we're standing up here. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, tall girls.
All right. Well,
Because I'm standing behind the coach.
it's a lot of phones.
All the moms.
Read.
Go ahead.
All right, who's the three-point shooter on the team? Anybody?
None of them.
All of it. Just say all of
All of them. All of them.
Good answer, Coach.
All of them. Okay, we did.
Hey.
Who would come down? Okay. All right. Okay. I'm gonna read this one down here. So we're good. Okay. Yeah, I'll read this.
Hold it. I was gonna do it in the middle. I was gonna get you to hold that one right there in the middle.
Congratulations, y'all.
Slide in the back.
Keep it me over here with her.
Y'all can real close together. All right.
Make sure you're showing Coach.
Just not whatever you want. Good job, congratulations. Nice job, nice job, nice job. Thanks for being here. Oh, do you want to shake? Whatever you want to do. Nice job. I love it.
Good job. No, you're doing good.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
I can settle.
Good? Thanks, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Congratulations again.
Yeah, congratulations.
I'll watch them play. Played over there. Tickets.
But I mean, they won big. They won, what, 32 to 12 or something like that? I mean, they won big. Yeah. They popped it on down in Richland County. Now here come the boys.
Coach, he grabs. We need you now. Let's go.
Yeah, boys. Yeah.
Hey, Coach, I just saw you
All right, I get to announce this. So this is awesome. Congratulations to the 14U boys basketball team for winning state. The 14U boys opened their tournament action with a dominating 40-11 win over the city of Columbia. Then beat
I'm sorry.
I'm okay with that. They beat North Charleston 47-35 in the semifinals. They came right back and beat North Charleston again 38-13 in their championship round. This state championship was Central Clemson's third in the last 6 years in the 14U boys age division. This is also Central Clemson's 9th basketball state championship in the last 9 years. So, congratulations, guys.
Yay!
You're being quiet. I got to coach you.
It's on you, Mike.
Good job.
All right, you okay if we squeeze in with the picture?
What's the point? We're not gonna be talking.
John, you might have to like figure something out.
That's awesome.
How are you doing?
Congratulations. Great job. Great job.
Get back here in the back. Excuse, we're too short to stand
Y'all
behind
get to be in the front. Y'all get to be. Congratulations. All right. We'll stand in the back.
I'm not gonna be.
All right, this is not, I'm tall too, that's what's funny. All right, how are we gonna do this? We'll just kind of squeeze in there.
Who's taking pictures?
Everybody.
Yeah.
I think Bree's waiting.
Redo.
Timeout. Open for timeout.
Oh, here comes Bree.
Official.
Awesome.
Congratulations. Thank you, Coach.
You too, man. Yes, sir. Good to see you. Yes, right here, right now.
Nice job. Nice job. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. He made me know I was
She loves it. I love it.
While we're waiting just for a few minutes, I just wanted to let everybody know you had Jay, Shannon, and Tom from the town of Central it's a team effort between Central and Clemson, so we greatly appreciate them all being here from our athletic department. So, yeah, thank you, Jay. Better? Okay. All right. Now we have the honor on Women's History Month for a proclamation here. And so I'm going to ask her if she's putting her, oh, no, don't do that. Okay. All right. Let me read this. All right. We're honored to recognize Margaret Thompson, whereas Women's History Month honors those women in our lives who impact us through service above self. Whereas Margaret Thompson could be no more deserving of this honor due to her lifelong commitment to those in need. With a heart as big as her voice, Margaret's presence in the Clemson community positively impacts both humans and animals most in need. Whereas Margaret served as a law enforcement officer for 25 years with the Pickens County Sheriff's Office, giving her days to protecting her community and being a resource for her neighbors, enhancing the quality of life of all who interacted with her as a deputy. Whereas Margaret continued her service above self mission after retiring from law enforcement when she founded Clemson Paul Partners, where's the mission of lowering animal overpopulation in Pickens County and surrounding areas by providing low-cost spay and neuter services, vaccinations, and medical assistance for those who need it most. Whereas Margaret's dedication to her community is further evidenced by the partnership she has secured via Clemson Paul Partners, including various support from the county and city governments, empowering Clemson Life students to work in the clinic, and securing food for families in need through Pickens County Meals on Wheels. Whereas she's ever explaining her outreach to the community and our most vulnerable members through her compassion and equity, providing that we all have a home here in Clemson. Now, therefore, I, Robert Halfaker, Mayor of the City of Clemson, do hereby recognize Margaret Thompson for her dedication to the City of Clemson and the greater Pickens County community through her compassionate efforts to care for those most in need. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and have the great seal of the city to be affixed this 16th day of March 2026. Congratulations, Margaret. You have to come up.
Congratulations.
It's a little thick.
That's not so bad, was it?
It's a little thick.
Congratulations.
Y'all just got me a good Very deserving. Very deserving.
Oh, I know, get plaque.
There you go. Congratulations, Margaret.
Congratulations.
All right. Sweet.
All right.
Congratulations, Margaret.
You're more than welcome to say something. Come on out here. This is your opportunity.
Go ahead.
Make it please.
Clemson Paul Partners is my passion, and I finally, no, I wouldn't say finally because I did enjoy law enforcement, but I actually do something now that I enjoy that I don't pay myself. I've never paid myself a dime in the 7 years that I started this. What we hope to do is to build, and we're looking at some land up above, like going towards Norris, and it's 3 acres, and we hope to build a 5,000 square foot low-cost spay neuter clinic. Because I don't know how many of you have pets or have to go to your family vet, but it's become very unaffordable, and it's become a rich person's to own a pet now to get the care for it, and that's what Clemson Paul Partners steps in and does to try to help the community. I love Clemson Life, and I love doing Meals on Wheels, and I love living in Clemson, tall buildings and all, and I just don't let that stuff dictate my life, because I see too much good in the community that we have to worry about something like that.
Amen.
Because you're never going to change it. That's the way it is. And you can either choose to be happy or you can choose to be miserable. and I choose to be happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is she on I didn't even do my line. Like, you're more than welcome to stay. Well, that's a great way to start our regular city council meeting. I will turn it over to public session. Mayor Pro Tem.
Moving too quick, hang on one second.
Oh,
Okay. Sure, so public session time in our meeting is open to the public for anything that is not related to an agenda item that we have for the evening. If you do want to speak about something on the agenda, we will open the floor when we get to that item, so it stays top of mind during our discussion. Just a reminder that if you want to speak, please approach the podium after you sign in over with Jeremiah. Speak up for the audience at home, and if you do need ADA listening devices here in person, we have them over here as well. So first, we will start with folks who signed up ahead of time, and we have Brownie.
Hey, Brownie.
I left the house at 4:30, and if y'all don't believe it or not, but there was people playing on the pickleball court at 4:30. So that's how popular it is. They're gonna play in this. And I want to thank Jay and them. He's gone, I guess. But they did make an effort. They tried to put that fence screen up. Well, it didn't work at all. It's as loud as it was. I don't know the answer to it. I really don't. I don't know build berm. I don't know. It all goes back to cutting the lights out, in my opinion. And I went down there today and took some pictures, and they weren't there last weekend, but they're there now. The signs going on the gates from 6 in the morning to 11. And I think 11 is just a little bit too late personally. But, and I looked at another thing. When that entrance down there is so wide going into Null's Park, there's a sign over to the right side, and all it is like the downtown parking signs, you know, the 12-inch by 18-inch. People may not see it. Maybe we could build a sign, you know, 4x4 or something, bigger letters, 4-inch letters or something, put a light on it, people going in there at the park, so they can't say they didn't see it when they rode by it. Because they already go by 3 going into the pickleball court, plus the 2 on the gate now. So that's 5 signs. And it says that they can be fine, you know, but, you know, I don't, finding somebody seems to be a little bit much, but, I mean, if there's no way you can stop them, I mean, I called this morning at midnight, or if you want to say last night, at midnight I called. Friday, I called at 11:15. There was another night I called at midnight. Last Monday, 2:30 a.m. in the morning. I mean, I want, you know, by Friday, I've got 20 hours of sleep maybe. I don't know how y'all function by Friday on 20 hours of sleep. Luckily for me, it's my shortest day. And like I say, and I, you know, it's all new to us all, what this pickleball court is. And I know it's been, you know, a problem from the get-go. But, I mean, I appreciate what J&M's done. I'm just trying, we all figure out something. I shouldn't be able to go to the bathroom in my own house and hear pickleball. I mean, that's just, to me, that's too much. And I don't know how we're gonna fix it. Maybe we can work together, you know, but it's a problem. My fear is the way things is growing and it's so popular, what's gonna happen next? There's gonna be 2 more pickleball courts right there. And if we can't stop it now, how are we gonna stop it? If there's 30-something can play at one time right at a time now, and then we build a couple more courts, then there's 100 people basically playing. And it's a nuisance to me now. I can't do nothing outside unless I want to hear the pickleball. But I'm talking about at night. You know, that's what I'm talking about. Have any of y'all been out there at 11 o'clock at night and just listen to it? I mean, that's a big problem. And I'm asking for y'all's help. And, you know, and I was there before this pickleball court was. I've been there all my life.
Time, sir.
Thank y'all. I appreciate
very much for your
it.
feedback.
Appreciate you,
We'll
Byron.
follow up
We
on
can't
that.
put timers on those lights.
It's Duke Energy, right?
It's gonna take some money, but really the only way to solve the problem is to get the lights to turn off.
I agree. I agree.
And it's just the way they're installed. We're just gonna have to uninstall them and put lights that can be turned off.
It sounds like what we want to do
I
it.
mean,
Let's do
besides
it.
the barriers,
Let's do it.
the berm's not gonna help, it's just gonna make a ramp or something.
I actually might have a technical thing that we can do to get into the daisy chain on the lights, and we can talk about that.
That's the only way it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And we may even look at, the timer going off at 10.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Thank you, guys. Next, we have a sign up for Ms. Platt.
Stephanie Platt, Mountain View Lane. First of all, I think it's really ridiculous for me to listen to a party from a mile away at my backyard. I think that needs to be addressed a little bit, because I thought we had a noise ordinance for those kind of things. Second of all, as I watched the past council meeting on YouTube, I do want to thank Councilwoman Evans for her comment. I do, however, in my opinion, think it was a deflection of my request for clarification. Not just my clarification, everybody's clarification. I felt that the mentioning of me not calling her back was a strong point that did not need to be made, and it made me feel like I was being labeled as a bad person for not doing so. No one should feel this way, in my opinion. As in an email I received, she told me she had no problem giving a public clarification to everyone. I took that to mean a phone call was not necessary, and I expected a little more transparency. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Platt. Those are our two signups. The floor is now open for the public. I'll go ahead and read one that we did have submitted, and just to remind everybody, these are provided via email to all the council members as well as printed out. We had one submitted via the My Civic app from Carl Von Kanel on Lewis Road. They write, loud car exhaust systems, example performance flow, tuned cars, can be heard on Old Stadium Road and Cherry Road during morning and afternoon commuting times. The decibel level on those who have disabled the factory restrictions permeates the neighborhood. Some of those reverberations remind me of Small Arms Fire. I hope for awareness and compliance of the City Ordinance 1310 regarding excessive noise within the city limits. And again, this is from Carl Von Kanel on Lewis Road. Are there any other public comments? Okay, I'll turn it
All
over.
right, thank you very much. Next is the possible approval of minutes from March 2nd. Would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Comments or discussion? All in,
Did you? Oh.
We were competing for second.
okay.
It was a race, and Lillian beat me.
All right. Fast. All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next, we'll go into reports and discussion. Just a reminder for the public, 2-minute limit per speaker. First is to receive a report from Reefs Across America. I know Melanie's here, Melanie Jones. And she's going to summarize last year's activities and the plans for the upcoming year. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor, we are very happy to have such an amiable and friendly mayor and city council. Thank you. To see the children here this morning was a great tribute to you and your office.
The whole community, sorry, the whole community. Yes, ma'am.
Ann is not able to be here tonight, and she will mail her report. I am happy to tell you about the Old Stone Church. The attendance there last year for the program was 105. Wreaths were placed on 354 veterans' gravestones. The city of Clemson provided $340, which purchased 20 wreaths. Mr. Curtis Arnold, president of the Old Stone Church and Cemetery Association, opened the ceremony saying, "The Wreaths Across America program has become one of our best attended events and has become a signature celebration. We try to engage as many Clemson area participants as possible to create a family atmosphere." Emily DeBruzzi from Clemson University Office of Military and Veteran Engagement, Jim Mullinex with the Rotary Club, and Commander Blankenship with Pershing rifles add much dignity and professionalism to our event. Of course, our veteran grave count continues to grow. We've added 6 since December. It is my goal to someday fund the project totally from private funding. Until that goal is reached, as your budget allows, we are once again requesting $340 from the City of Clemson for this coming year. And put it on your calendars. The next event is December 19th, 2026 at noon at the Old Stone Church in Clemson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Melanie. Appreciate it. Any comments? Well, we appreciate you being here. Melanie, you're more than welcome to stay, but everybody's got things going on at night. So please, it's all
Dinner's
good.
at 7.
Yeah, oh, dinner's at 7? Well, she's,
No,
oh, I heard that, yes, that's right, yes. All right.
someone mentioned
So
the
thank you,
dinner was
Melanie.
at 7.
Appreciate it. And we look forward to Ann's report, so thank you. Next, Chief's going to come up and give us the annual report for 2025, which we all have a copy in front of us. So thank you for providing that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, copies are also on our department website for those at home that are watching and are curious as to what the report says. I'll just point out a few things because you all do have the report there. But in my letter to you on page 5, I just want to point out that last year was the first year of our narcotics detective grant that was awarded, allowing us to dedicate an investigator to focus on their time, all of their time on narcotics and vice offenses occurring in the city. This position resulted in 40 investigations and the seizure of 80 grams of cocaine, 3 pounds of marijuana, 3 pounds of methamphetamine, 2 pounds of fentanyl, and psilocybin mushrooms. 3 drug dwellings were shut down and several arrests were made, including 4 individuals who are well known in the community for selling narcotics for years. Most of these cases were handled in state court, but a few are being were brought into a larger operation in federal court, and they're still sitting in jail. Of our traffic enforcement efforts, well, before I go into that, on page 10, you can see our, we have our organizational chart there just to remind folks of how many police officers we're budgeted for, and we have. We have 40 budgeted police officers from my position down. We always have a small percentage of those in some various states of training who are not solo and cannot act solely. They have to be paired with another officer or a vacancy. But we do our best to fill them. We have also 10 budgeted dispatcher jailer positions. As we all know, if you all do not know, we have a jail. And so we have to staff that 24/7. And they also double as our 911 dispatchers. So that staff plus a supervisor. Just to kind of give you an idea with the turnover that we're dealing with, which is a norm, we've had 11 new officer hires and 3 dispatcher jail hires in the past year, with 7 resignations and 1 retirement. So that's a percentage that we are all seeing that departments from the past didn't necessarily have to deal with. So our enforcement efforts on page 14, you see our uniform patrol numbers there. They answered 50,000 calls for service. They issued 4,700 citations and 3,800 warnings for traffic violations, which contributed to, and wasn't the sole contributor to it because there are so many factors we cannot control or patrol or enforce, to 15% less traffic collisions in the city last year. On page 15, you'll see the numbers of the what we call Part 1 crimes and other crimes that are reported to us. You will see a decrease in public drunkenness, but an increase in disorderly conduct. And the reason for that is our city prosecutor prefers our officers to charge disorderly conduct for drunkenness because of the ability to use a conditional discharge as part of the plea agreements, where if he just used our public intoxication ordinance, he could not. So that's a restriction of the court when it comes to pretrial programs. We have to only use the ones that the 13th solicitor adopts, and there aren't any for city ordinance violations like that. So that's why you see that discrepancy there. There were a significant decrease in a lot of our crimes. Thank God, and by His grace, we had 0 homicides last year, so that's a big goose egg. We did have an increase in missing person cases, and I did a little deeper dive in that. We're getting more and more cases where people with different aging or mental challenges are walking away from homes and facilities, and we're getting reports to assist in locating them. Happy to say most of them we were able to find relatively quickly, but that's becoming a call that we're getting more and more of nowadays, probably just because of the number of facilities that we have in the city now. Let's see. Just on page 23, I want to point out another significant workload for the department. We had 214 FOIA requests, we had 1,091 records requests, and we had 293 Brady motions. Those are all very related. To some point, Brady motions are a process in which we have to provide everything, all pieces of evidence and reports to the defense so that they can prepare their case, which is the same staff that does the FOIA requests and the records requests are the same ones that do the Brady requests. So they're handling all of these things. FOIA requests, as you may remember, when we're dealing with our records, there's a lot of stuff that has to be redacted, so you have that additional. It's not just, oh, there's the report, we pull it and hand it to somebody. We've got to review it and redact things from it so it doesn't get inadvertently released to the public. So that is another staff intensive process that we deal with. On page 25, your telecommunications jail staff, they took a little over 5,700 911 calls last year, over 30,000 admin calls, and we housed in our facility 699 arrestees for city cases and 187 for the university. So if you did not know, the university brings their arrestees to our facility, and it's a lot more convenient for them because they have to take them back and forth to their municipal court, which is on campus, and if they had to go to Pickens and back, the same thing for us. It would be a very long and staffing intensive process. I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has on that. And this annual report is a requirement of our accreditation standard. And I'd like to ask Sergeant Yassine and Lieutenant Davis to step up. So if you were not aware, for the last 3 years, we've been in the process of becoming accredited in the state. And Lieutenant Davis started out as, when she was still a sergeant, as our accreditation manager, and when she got promoted, it was turned over to Sergeant Yassine, and through their efforts and the efforts of the rest of the department, we achieved our accreditation. You want to tell them what it's all about?
No, it's a process. I can tell a lot of people, it's a process you don't understand as an officer. It's just it's just rules. But when you get into it and get behind the scenes and see what all the standards the state's putting out for us and see the importance of it, it's like my mindset has shifted just tenfold. So I really I understand all of it, see the importance of it all now. So I actually enjoy the job a lot. So,
good.
Yeah.
Yes. Good.
A lot of it helps reliability-wise, not only for the city, for the individual officer as well. It helps us also gain the trust, I think, of the community to know that we're doing things. I mean, we're always in the media what we're doing wrong. this helps us show that we're doing things right, we're trying our hardest, and we're documenting it as well.
When addressing the board, you know, they knew of the challenges that we had to become accredited and the things that we have to overcome. And one of the questions they asked is, you know, why did you seek that? And that's, well, not only about being, you know, the best of the best and that kind of stuff, but, you know, we're 3 seconds away from being national news for something that happens in Clemson, and we need to make sure that we're doing everything to the industry standards so that when we do come into question, we can say we followed all the standards. So, congratulations to them.
Yes.
Awesome.
Chief, you told me before, how many offices or police offices are accredited? And
Police departments?
Departments through the state. It's very limited number, just a.
Yeah, it is, gosh, I don't remember the number off the top.
Less than 5% in the country.
Less than 5% in the country, okay,
And
so
in
there's
the state, I think it's a little higher, I think it's like 13% in the state, but there's over 400 agencies or 300 agencies, something like that. It's
32 or accredited, but a lot of those are sheriff's office.
Chief.
On page 15 of your crime numbers, you've got huge decreases in some areas like drug violations, fraud, hit and run, and larceny. I mean, those decreases are we just doing so much better in our community? It's amazing.
So I'll have to state, and I put it in my letter, this past year we changed records management systems from one system to another. And I've double-checked, triple-checked, quadruple-checked the numbers. We keep coming up with different numbers. I'm not 100% sure that there might be a little bit of a mistake in those numbers, but it's small. But I will say, a lot of it does have to do with effort, but it's cyclic. There are so many things in our society that affect what drives crime and those types of things. So that, I can't put an exact finger on that. Now, traffic enforcement is always linked to crash, you know, reductions in crash, reductions in injuries and that kind of stuff. It's not the only thing that you can do to reduce those numbers, but it does have an effect, at least in other studies that I've read. The larceny cases,
Trends.
you know, the other thing too is, I hate to say this, but we don't see a lot of larceny reports where people want to go through with filing the report. Where something will get stolen, they'll call up and say, hey, I want to report that so-and-so stole my iPod or whatever, if we even have iPods anymore. And then by the time the officer gets there to take the report, they go, I don't want to go through it all. I just want to let somebody know that they took my stuff. It's like, so then the report doesn't get made, and so we kind of see that trend as well. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Please express to the whole team, we appreciate all their efforts in keeping us safe.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nathan, you're back on here. Next is to discuss the 2026 R02 proposed text amendment, mixed-use, high-density developments. Nathan.
Yeah, I want to address the 2 questions that were asked, and then the floor is yours. Why Colorado? Boulder, Colorado has a 42% higher housing cost than the city of Clemson, which is impressive when you consider that the average listing price for the 2 downtown neighborhoods is currently $710,000. The population of Boulder is 100,000, but the University of Colorado has 40,000 students, a direction we feel that the university is very openly trending toward. But the real reason is it's one of the most restrictive places to develop in the country. It's a place that planners in planning schools across the country look to. So on a list of places with tight restrictions, you have, I mean, of course, the normal Manhattan, Charleston, Hilton Head Island, Boulder, and then very quickly on their heels is Clemson, South Carolina. And so I think that overall thing is missed, and we have all this development coming here. That is a product of the pressure on the region, not how restrictive it is to build here. It is very, very, very difficult to build a project in Clemson, South Carolina. residential or multifamily. So when one gets through, it has gone through layers and layers and layers of checks, and I think that is not communicated well. Probably some of that fault rests on me. The reason we moved from feet to stories, that's not really a loophole. We consider that a quality mandate. The problem with feet is that strict height limits per floor encourage what planners call bread loaf buildings. Grandmark is a bread loaf building. So you start at the bottom floor is 8 stories to 10 stories, and you hear all the time about all the vacant retail in Clemson. That's not true. There's vacant retail in Grandmark, and there's some in Earl Street. Otherwise, we're pretty much full. One of the reasons those haven't rented out, though, is because they don't have that inviting first story floor height where you can allow 15 to 20 feet on that first floor that will invite things like high-end restaurants and shops that everyone's clamoring for. That's one of the reasons we wanted to move to foot. And then inevitably it will come up a tapered profile. So if you allow the penthouse on top and the below grade rules that we have, which are standard architectural rules used across the country, a penthouse with a 20-foot setback from the edge of the building is virtually invisible from the sidewalk, as well as the 60% rule allowing stories not count that are 60% below grade encourages burying utilities and burying parking decks, which is a commonly accepted architectural practice all across the country in some of the more restrictive communities I just mentioned. With that, that's all I really had that I heard tonight that I wanted to address, but I'm more than happy to address any questions you guys have.
Go ahead.
I want to add one thing about the feet versus the stories. Several of us on council, when we actually put that by right 3 stories, because we're in the midst of the moratorium and we felt like we needed to open the door. That evening, during that conversation, there was a council member that talked about, well, if you go by the stories versus the height, you could have a floor that's 50 feet tall, or whatever the case may be. So I think it had a lot to do with why we ended up landing on the 3 stories versus.
Yeah, that's correct, and you're correct. I watched the council meetings where this was changed. I watched all the discussions at Planning Commission leading up to that, and there was some of that out there. Theoretically, that's true. I mean, someone could build a 50-story first floor building. I can't think of any that aren't in Manhattan and Las Vegas, but sure.
But on the flip side, if you want high-quality housing and high-quality buildings, having a taller ceiling in an apartment, bigger windows, being able to hide the HVAC between the floors instead of having lower ceiling heights, to have a restaurant able to go in, you gotta have enough room for a hood and the full HVAC system below the concrete deck. So if you don't have 12 feet, you won't get a restaurant. You limit it to mercantile only. And even in mercantile, nobody wants to walk in a shop and feel small and squished inside the building. The couple of feet that it changes makes a pretty big difference in the feeling of quality in a building.
Also, the going to stories rather than strict height was a request of the BAR as well. It makes for a lot more options as far as architectural interests in the roof lines, different type of architectural features like turrets. It makes so you can do a much more interesting looking building. And the truth is, people look, when you're looking at a city, no one knows how tall a building is. You can't tell me what 65 feet is versus 80. You can tell me when something is 6 stories or it's 10 stories. Nobody's brain works that way. It's just because of perspective, it doesn't matter. Height really doesn't matter. So it really is stories makes for just a better product.
Don't go far, Jim.
So we had another question, and you really already talked about it, but can you do a synopsis again, how it's beneficial to the community and the residents with this? Either one of you, the floor is yours, do a synopsis of that again.
I just knew you might have to contribute.
Yep, no problem. I would love to get in on this too.
Sure, I wanted to be very clear here.
Yes.
The number one reason this proposed text amendment is beneficial to the residents of Clemson is it replaces negotiated surprises with accountability. For years, Clemson has operated under a 3-story emergency rule that is financially impossible to build. This has forced every developer into a planned development cycle, a process where everything, and with Jacob standing here as zoning administrator, I want to emphasize that. Literally every inch of our zoning code is negotiable during a planned development process. The benefit is this amendment replaces those negotiations with by right predictability. I realize there are many in this room that become nauseous at the thought of 7 stories or 5 stories, but at least you know that's all it can ever be. And so we draw a line in the sand somewhere. We all visit cities where that's totally acceptable. Again, our regional pressure, we feel like mandates that. We toyed with some other heights, quite frankly. I think a lot of times, I think the perspective is that we're just throwing stuff against the wall, see if it sticks. We're not. This has months of research going into it. The by right predictability states that now the rules are now public for everyone, they're transparent for everyone, and non-negotiable. So residents no longer have to wonder what a developer might talk this or a future council into in the future. I don't say that with any snarkiness, I'm just saying these limits are set in stone. As well, the second thing this does as a benefit for the community is there's a real value capture here in terms of community needs. Under the current system, the city rarely receives the direct funding, or it does receive direct funding in terms of impact fees and what a developer offers. But now we're moving to a value capture model so that if a developer wants to build 7 stories, we're going to, in the growth corridor, they must pay that $30 a square foot as a value capture fee. And then again, I've already gone through the thing, but the result of that is for a typical square footage size project in the city of Clemson, this could mean $2.8 million directly on top of impact fees, on top of permit fees, directly paid into city funds for things to benefit our downtown. And then the third reason I think that this is beneficial to the residents of Clemson is it protects old Clemson and enhances the quality of new builds. It's a strategic blueprint we see that locks that downtown, what's in watercolor paintings downtown in the stores, that traditional old Clemson is locked at the 2 stories it's at. And then the quality you allow by allowing 7 stories in other parts, you're mandating structured parking decks, which means you can mandate that going forward and protect them from the surrounding neighborhoods. I hear a lot about the parking ratios, which is definitely part of this, but the one thing I'm certain that residents don't want, like Moda is a great example because they said, hey, if the PD is not approved at 5, we will build at 3, and we will build our parking lot on the back, which will face Knox Lane. Folks might not like Moda, but they would have hated a 3-story project with a sea of parking in the back. So I think, those are the 3, I think.
Thank you.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
To Mr. Lee's question about clarifying above ground level versus under, I've read this, but I don't remember if you address that standard and like how we're gonna maintain a skyline or the above and under building, and I just need your brain on how that works with this.
Yeah, so he's right. I mean, so the topography of the city will mandate that all the buildings aren't the same height. There is so you'll notice in this ordinance, from strode to strode, it is not set at 5 stories to go up to 7. It is set at 3 stories to be able to go up to 5. The intent there was to match Moda, quite honestly, if anything were ever to happen on the other properties. That's a popular opinion for 50% of the city. There's a popular, for the other 50%, they want us to allow 7 there so that there's variability in the buildings because they don't want everything looking the same. We kind of split the difference and mandated that for that section, and then the else can have variability. But going, you want to address topography?
Yeah.
Underground.
So I guess we're talking about this 60% basement not counting. So there's different ways that can be actualized. Because we're talking about a calculation of volume. So you very literally do a calculation of the volume of that story and take a percentage of that of how much of it is below and above grade. So it gets a little complicated, but it's not the end of the world with CAD. So you could even think about it, if it's a 10-foot story and the entire thing is underground, 4 feet of that could be outside the ground. And it would not count as a story. But again, there is trade-offs for all these things that make it a beneficial and a good thing. Much more likely is what we'll see is that the back side of the building where it goes into topography will be open to the back, and that, you know, we'll say 40% of it could be exposed going that way. Again, we don't see that as being actually a negative thing, and it would, you know, it's one of those things. We are already dealing with topography when we're calculating height now, and in truth, you can work topography more with how the current calculation is done, not by stories. It's been done by height, makes it a lot more, just you can choose different areas to count it from. So it actually, this is more conservative in a lot of ways than what we currently are dealing with when we're calculating height. There's an inevitable amount that some of it is going to be subterranean. You have to deal with that. And this is kind of the industry standard, follows what the building code determines to be a basement and what is generally, you know, determined what is to be a basement.
That's the part I want to hit on is like, I saw someone sent me a comment that, you know, we're going to pack 5 stories underground and all that's livable space. International building codes are still in effect. Like, you still have to have ventilation, you still have to have sunlight. So like 10 times out of 10 in the city of Clemson, I'll go as far as say, is that most of that subterranean is going to be used for parking or some sort of
utility
riser rooms or structure, stuff like that. It's not for bodies.
Yeah, if you, it is extremely expensive to do truly subterranean living space, and it's not marketable. So you'll notice that every apartment building that we don't have any apartment building in town that doesn't have a window to the outside. Every one of them has a donut in the middle of it, everything like that. Could you theoretically, by our ordinance, go straight down, dig underneath, and do an underground building? Yes, you can. I'll be very clear of that. Do we? Okay.
Not at
So you're gonna sell those rooms, right? Yeah.
Fine.
Not at $3 million an acre downtown.
Yeah.
But I guess the intention of the way that it's written is because we want variability in visual interests.
Correct. That, like, we could set it, and I mean, it's a very interesting concept that Mr. Lee was bringing up, of saying we set a height off of the lake and just say, okay, that's what you can go to. I would suggest it, and I don't think the Board of Architectural Review would say that's the best idea, because even though the skyline will look at that from perspective, it might look kind of cool from far away, but we really are more concerned with the experience of a person walking down the sidewalk. So that's when most of our regulations aren't even what it's like when you're driving by in a car. Our regulations for architecture are really geared towards your personal experience of walking by these buildings.
And I took it too, that there are some spots in town like Bixby that are at lower grade than everything around them, to where maybe some variability is not a bad thing going higher. Because it's gonna be so low, you could look at higher spots in some spots where you're down in a hole.
We're absolutely looking at that through our ordinance as well. Yep.
One last question. More a comment, less a question, but I heard a couple comments about long-term planning for population demand.
Sure.
And I think that what we are missing in that conversation that some of the comments brought is non-student growth of population, which is going to happen because the Southeast is growing at such a rate. South Carolina is the fastest growing state in the nation.
Yes.
Like, it's just in the data. And so when we are talking about these types of changes, it is not for student housing, it is for building. Right. And I think it's super important to point that out to anybody listening or anybody who is looking at Clemson long-term, that this is not a student housing conversation. And additionally, it is a conversation about sprawl because we have beautiful parts of the county that we want to keep green, that we don't want to build in, that we as a city can help mitigate that by allowing density closer in so that it doesn't get built on the other side of the lake in, you know, central city limits or county limits outside of any city limits. So I think that's on my mind when I'm looking at this as well, is the demand in the future for people who aren't students. This can help with that, and the sprawl that we hear people talking about avoiding for the long term.
And I think you bring up a great point, is that, and I've had this conversation Friday actually, or maybe today, I don't remember. Clemson Next does call for a mix of housing types downtown, absolutely. I think what it misses is that financial feasibility is student housing downtown. And without 7 stories, other types are not feasible. Do I think that raising this is gonna usher in a lot of, professional housing or retiree housing even downtown? Probably not, but the possibility's there at 7 stories. It is certainly not there at 3.
But what it could enable is that to happen in other parts of the city that are already developed to be redeveloped into
Because
that.
if you can put the density where it belongs,
Right.
which all of our plans have always said is along these corridors, then the competition for other parts of the city is not as great. There, I mean, again, with these types of numbers, I'm telling you, it is very, very difficult to build in downtown Clemson, and that door is only open for a very, very select few. So that's going to be difficult. It does open the door for hotels as well, and I think that's a real possibility, just based on call volume. I think that's a possibility. But I'm not going to speculate on which ones, but like there are ones that call us repeatedly, hey, is this still PD? Yes. All right, I'll call you in a year, type thing.
I just wanted to throw that out there for the conversation.
Sure.
Thank you, guys.
That's great.
I have a very odd question.
Yes, ma'am.
How in the world, or how did it get missed, or how did it stay on the books that it was, the moratorium went for longer than 180 days, that it went for 5 years? I mean,
Jake, do you want to answer that?
no, I mean, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just like, did it never come back up? Did it never?
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It wasn't done as a true moratorium. So there was a moratorium, which was separate from changing the zoning ordinance. So they were kind of done in coordination with each other. So the moratorium did expire, and that was on any development over 200 beds, I believe. And that did have, a true moratorium did expire. Unfortunately, at the same time, they also did what was described as a stopgap measure to get our zoning in line, to bring it up to what we're doing now. And there was just never the political motivation to do it.
Nobody ever brought it up?
No one ever brought it up.
Well, I
would say, because we were part of that council. And I think what we did was, it wasn't that we didn't bring it up, it was because we wanted to ensure that the property owners felt that we could give them something to believe in. And so we gave them the by right of the 3 stories. And that was what was approved by our council to move forward. So we did, because the sunset was going to end in December.
But it did.
December, it did.
It ended, but we didn't change it back.
We didn't change it back, but it ended. But we didn't say, we said that we would do a study and we would review and observe, and go through, because we still had a comprehensive plan to go through, and that we still had to go through that process. But we did actually end it. So
Because of this thing that lingered for all this time, even though it expired, it never got changed back. Is that why we've had to have so many PDs?
Yes. Professionally, I will say absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
But that was part of a strategy.
I feel much better
Development
now.
strategies was to push the PDs to get the benefits. They saw that as.
So the PDs can, and that's what everybody has been upset about at times, has been the PDs.
Yep. And one thing I would also like to say, just kind of moving from PDs to by right, is PDs put an incredible amount of pressure on your board to do the job of the Board of Architectural Review. You have a Board of Architectural Review that is filled with very talented professionals in that field that spend as many meetings on a by right option as you guys do on a whole ordinance, where you guys are expected to look at an entire ordinance. They're looking at making it the best looking, best project they can, and they're good at it. And that's missed in the PD. So you are putting the power to the professionals that are skilled to do it by going back to by right, which is how the boards are set up, how it's meant to be. And I have to tell you, you guys just appointed 2 new members of the Board of Architectural Review, and they hit the ground running, and they're excellent. So I really do appreciate everything you guys do, and you're doing it right.
Let me clarify one thing, just my opinion on.
Oh, no.
No, it's not. It's
I just made a point.
Oh, I know.
That's it.
I know, well, I just
Or
want to.
asked a question.
But you can't, this is just my opinion, for what it's worth.
Okay.
You can't clarify everything just because of that restriction, because I will think of Dockside, for example. That went from a non-PD to straight zoning. And it went lot line to lot line, and it was sprawl. I've heard that word. And so sometimes we looked at it, and it was before our time.
But I'm talking about, that went by zoning. We can't do anything about that by law. People that could argue about that or be upset about that, law is law. The PD is what's been putting the pressure on us because we have more ability. I'm just wanted to clarify what was what. That's it. I don't need a sermon. I just want to have it clarified.
No sermon. What I'm saying is that in the PD is also the way to add more community benefit. And that's what
It has turned into that, yes.
Correct.
Yes.
I also want to state, I mean, like Jacob has nearly 20 years in zoning administration. I have a lot of experience. I've spent dearly on my planning degree at Clemson University. I echo Jacob's point, like, this stuff's coming at us as a staff so quickly, we struggle to keep up. So to ask volunteer, I see one in the back, but volunteer planning commission members, you guys ran, but ultimately you're still volunteers to do these roles. It should be no one's expectation that you have that expertise. And I'm not here to float, toot my own horn, but like, it should be no one's expectation that you have that. So this is some of the buildings that have been approved and have been totally fine are very, Adam can attest, are very, very complicated construction. And I think in that construction mode ultimately influences the design of the building, which is ultimately what you guys are doing. And like Jacob said, that's the job of the BAR, not the city council.
Amen.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your clarification. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Yep.
I'll just say, I think Melissa says where my memory went was it was reduced to 3 stories because we didn't know the answers yet. We couldn't make it 0. So it was set at 3, and then the development strategies thing was, okay, let's get the zoning right, let's find out, use the market feasibility to find out if PD is the strategy we want to go with to get value out of these projects. And the final report said go PDs. It says you should do student housing through PD processes. And then we found out that that is just extremely cumbersome because you're not getting them once in a while. You're getting them one after the other. So it becomes extremely cumbersome, and I think now you have the data. Been through a new comprehensive plan process, you've seen what the market's doing. You're able to come in and get the zoning right now, and you have enough data to move forward.
I do want to stress that too, because it's something that came up online. There are 2 PDs currently in front of the planning commission. This ordinance has absolutely, and I want to be as clear as possible, absolutely nothing to do with either of those developments. They are not included, their parcels are not included in this development. It is not a way, this ordinance has nothing to do with North Clemson Avenue, has nothing to do with 201 Pine Street, and it has nothing to do with Best Western. That's been repeated by the same people several times online. I want to be as clear as humanly possible.
Everybody needs to remember the term vested. We lived with that, some of us did. These would be vested, both of them. Vested rights. They would have vested
Gotcha.
You said they would have vested rights. The ones he just mentioned?
Well, they're not falling in the.
They're not falling in this one.
Right. The point of it is, if we try to bring it under, they would have vested rights.
Everything is dictated by the date of their application.
Right.
They're already here.
Lots of rules in place.
So they can still, they go through the planning, they still go through the PD process.
That and also the ordinances that we're changing don't affect those zoning districts. Correct. Like, we're not changing anything in the RM4 zoning district where Pine Street is. The only thing we're changing about the Best Western site is calculation of height by stories rather than foot, which actually.
Just for clarification, I believe I'm correct in saying that project isn't vested until they've submitted their site-specific development plan.
I think it's usually trigger.
Yeah, usually if they have submitted for like board markers review, something that is site specific, we consider that to be a vested. Both of them are going under PD, so it's totally different. But if, you know, when someone submits an actual application is when we consider it to be vested.
Yeah. I don't want that to dominate this conversation, but I'm happy to talk to any of you online about either of those developments anytime you want.
I guess the only other question I have, this is a lot of information to digest. Your presentation was very well done, so I appreciate it. So I know we talked about after the comprehensive plan, we would do a zoning study, but this is in lieu of.
Correct.
The zoning, so we're moving forward. You want to move forward with this without?
I do, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, that's what I was wanting to
Sure,
ask.
yeah, no, that's a great question. My goal with this is not 7-story buildings. My goal is to get out of PD process. Again, I don't want to spend my career doing PDs because that's not the fun part of planning. The fun part of planning is strategically designing, you know, a city, which Jacob's wonderful at, and I'm even come at a higher level. The zoning rewrite study, there's the portion of that you'll hear from a consultant at the next meeting. And then as part of the budget, that full study is proposed, which we will probably kick off in the fall. What happens in the meantime? I'm going to, without this, I expect I'll have another 4 or 5 PDs in front of you guys. And that's not because I think I'm growing, I'll go on record here and I think I'm growing weary of the term developers are doing this because they're greedy. I don't think it's greed, and I actually had a former council member qualify this for me. It's because the profit is in the product that they're offering. It's not greed, I mean, to an extent, but it's profit, and that is our market. So I don't look at, I know folks would like me to, I don't look at developers any different than I do a landscaper or a plumber, and it's just a job. But I think without this measure, in the meantime, you're gonna see more PDs than the 2 in front of you for certain. And I can, you know, I don't wanna break out a crystal ball, but if I did, I could almost pinpoint the properties where I think that they'll be. I think this gives a buy right option to some of those that will be tolerable, but will not be excruciating in terms of the PD process. Because I think what we're seeing right now is even when it's a good PD, and I never show my cards, but there are some things that have been approved in my tenure here that I don't love. There are parts of it that I don't love. Some that I don't love at all, some that parts of that I don't love, and some part that I think are fantastic. What's consistent in all 3 things I just mentioned is they rip the community apart every single time. And you guys, Jacob, Andy, we're all caught in the middle. And I think this alleviates that in the short term. And it may very well come back that the zoning study recommends some tweaks to this, absolutely. I don't know what they would be, but we're moving, our plan is to move toward a code where, it's called a Unified Development Ordinance, but where your architectural standards, your subdivision standards, your zoning standards are all in one. Think of it a lot like the comp plan. It'll be in a very pretty packaged something. That doesn't mean it's going to be shorter. It's going to be a lot longer, so it's going to take some time. And it will also be usable to both staff and a layperson.
And realistically, though, we would still probably have the interest, regardless of which one we do.
We still have the what?
We'll still have the interest from developers, regardless of
Certainly
which
we'll
one.
have interest. I think I heard or was sent a lot of, it's like, you know, this is just paving the way for development downtown. At $30 a square foot, I don't believe that's true at all. So I think that in the short term, some folks that are interested in Clemson are going to step back and reevaluate if this is really the place that they want to be. If your sole focus is profit, and you're not willing to do some of these other things, I think you're probably not coming here anymore. But if you really have data analysts in-house and you can see where the university's trending, you might still show up.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Yep, Robert.
And there are two new House bills that are pending that might have some effect on this, and I can't say for sure, but I'm curious about it, and maybe you know about it already, but it's called transferable development rights and infrastructure-based zoning approvals. So the transferable development rights, and I can't remember the House bills, but they're both pending. It was, for example, I don't know, and I don't know how they're first determined, but I would, as a landowner, I would somehow be conferred development rights. And I'd say, well, I agree not to build 5 stores on my land, but I can sell that right to somebody else to do that. That's my basic understanding of this. So you may have already heard of this. And I just don't know. I'm curious about how that would affect something. Maybe this has to be adjusted if they even pass. So maybe you know something about those, that how this would affect this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Other comments? Not, we will go into staff reports. Andy.
I'm going to invite Morgan Robinson up to give you an update on the Black Heritage Trail.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Morgan Robinson, the manager of the Clemson Area African American Museum, and one of my duties as manager is also serving as the site coordinator for the City of Clemson's arm of the Black Heritage Trail. So I just have a few updates, but just a little bit of background information about the Black Heritage Trail. It initially started as a project over at the university, just finding different ways to highlight and physically mark the history of African Americans here in the university and the larger Clemson upstate area. And it was brought to Dr. Thomas, who is the original co-director, to expand this project beyond the university into different municipalities. So the project is now partnering currently with the City of Clemson and the City of Seneca to have multiple sites with different interpretive signs, historical markers, artwork, and other information that's highlighting the history of Black folks here in upstate South Carolina. And we're also in works to expand this beyond our few areas as well. The City of Pendleton has expressed interest. Folks over at Soapstone in Liberia have expressed interest, and there's some interest from the City of Greenville as well. So this will be very much an expansive recognition of public history, creation of Black history in the upstate. Just to talk a little bit about where we are currently in the planning process for the City of Clemson, we are looking at a total of 17 interpretive signs across 2 sites, Rotary Park and Dawson Park. The majority of the signs will be those smaller type 3 signs, so something that's much more accessible, readable for the average person, and we're looking at potentially type 1, those 3-sided signs in the middle that will have some introductory and general context about the Black Heritage Trail, connecting it to some of the other sites locally and across the broader trail. Our themes for the City of Clemson will focus on churches, the communities and neighborhoods, the labor of the Black community, and religion and laborers in the churches as well, and education. And we're also looking to currently have 2 South Carolina historical markers installed at the Colored Calhoun School, which is the site of the museum, and Abel Baptist Church. We're also in discussions of expanding where some additional historical markers can be placed in the city as well. So this is the plan for the Rotary Park site. We'll have a total of 7 signs located at this site. And we are also thinking of having a concrete stamp as just a piece of our logo for the Black Heritage Trail, which is the Kiowee, the Little, and a couple of other rivers kind of coming together and recognizing and showing the the expansiveness of our area. So we're looking at having a concrete stamp of that at the Rotary Park site and potentially expanding it to some other locations as well throughout the city. And then the Dawson Park site, which will be our larger site, and we'll have some extensive work done. We'll have the remaining signs throughout, creating a bit more of a trail-like focus at Dawson Park. And so some of our next steps are just finalizing the content for our signs. We have a lot of research we're still parsing through, making sure that it all sounds great and is accessible and informative for everyone who's going to see these signs, and also working on the design for these signs as well, so they are unique to Clemson but still maintain some sort of connection to the university and the City of Seneca signs. We are in the middle of reviewing and completing our applications for historical markers for Calhoun, and starting research for Abel, and as I mentioned, reviewing to see if there's some other locations that would benefit from historical markers. And then a lot of community engagement. We had a trail chat over at Clemson Presbyterian back in February. So we're looking to have more trail chats between the city and the City of Seneca as well over the next few months. So you'll have more information about that as well.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate the update.
Yeah. Yeah, I do love the logo.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you again. Appreciate it. Have a great evening. Other reports?
Nothing further.
All right. Okay, next we'll go into policy action. Just a reminder, 2-minute limit per speaker. First, consider second reading of ordinance confirming and ratifying the annexation of and/or annexing certain property contiguous to the city limits and enlarging the city limits, and for providing other related matters. Andy?
Nothing has changed since the first reading.
Okay. Comments or questions? Comments from the public? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the second reading of the ordinance, confirming and ratifying the annexation of and/or annexing certain property contiguous to city limits and enlarging city limits, and for providing other related matters. Sorry.
Second.
It just kept going.
Yeah, I know. Jeremiah just, yeah.
Kind of stalled.
I had to catch my breath.
Comments or any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Next is consider a resolution appointing the Anderson Regional Joint Water System voting representatives. Dusty, you're coming up.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
All right. Thank you for your patience.
So a couple weeks ago, I think Nathan brought this in front of y'all before I was out. Basically, BG had retired and he was our representative for a long time, and we need a new representative for the Anderson Regional Joint Water System. So I'm asking for y'all to consider a resolution to appoint me as the representative, primary representative for 3 years, and Nathan Hinkle as alternative for 3 years.
Questions or comments for Dusty? From the public? Would somebody like to make a resolution? Well, consider a resolution. They can motion for the resolution. Hey, it's been a long meeting already for me. All right, let's go. All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve a resolution appointing the Anderson Regional Joint System voting representatives for Dusty Hayes and also Nathan Hinkle.
Second. Oh.
Any comments? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Dusty.
Just a quick, how often do y'all meet? Do you know?
Once a month. Yes.
Once a month,
Yeah.
okay. I think you're next, Dusty.
Dusty, you're still back up here.
No, it's Andy.
Oh, is it Andy?
Oh, that's.
Sit down for 1 second.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Other policy items, that's right. All right, next is consider resolution adopting the Pickens County Hazard Mitigation Plan, yeah.
That's not what,
I got an email last week from Pickens County going, it was actually sent to like 4 municipalities in the county and said, hey guys, I know y'all are doing your FEMA reimbursements, but we don't have you down as having ratified this emergency management plan. And if you don't, you're not gonna get your money. So it was, thank you Pickens County for the heads up, and that's what this is all about.
Great. So this is checking that off the
It
list.
isn't, I remember Allie was our representative when they were putting the plan together.
Any questions or comments for Andy from the public? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the resolution adopting the Pickens County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
All right, comments? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Now, Dusty.
I'm sorry, yeah. I had to.
Next is consider awarding the Wyatt Avenue Stormwater and Sewer Replacement Project contract in the amount of $99,170 to Garcon with a $10,000 contingency.
Yes, so we had a bid opening for a project on White Avenue for stormwater and sewer replacement. We would like to ask you to consider awarding this project to Garcon in the amount of $99,170. And I have Ethan here with me as well to answer any questions that I may not be able to.
Questions or comments for the two of them? From the public? All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
I make a motion to award the Wyatt Avenue Stormwater and Sewer Replacement Project contract in the amount of $99,170 to Garcon with a $10,000 contingency.
Comments? All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, thank you very much. Next time, Ethan, we'll make sure you get your opportunity. Next is to other policy items. Consider a mutual aid agreement with the city of North Myrtle Beach. Chief, back up. Thank you.
Thank you. No changes from last time. If you have any questions on
We do this every year, right?
we do, and it costs us $0. They fully reimburse us for salaries, travel, per diem, et cetera, provide lodging for the officers.
I just have a quick question. Is it tit for tat? Like if some big thing was going on in Clemson and we needed some extra help with North Myrtle Beach because of this mutual aid agreement, would they be able to come up here to help us?
Not
Or is
with
it
this,
just us
not
to
with
them?
this agreement, because this agreement's specifically for Memorial Day weekend.
Okay.
But if we ever needed something like that, then we would have to engage in mutual aid agreements with them. And that's why we have existing mutual aid agreements with agencies that are closer to us. So I have them with Anderson County, Greenville County, Greenville City. I have several of them, so if we have to call on their assistance, we have them for the immediacy. But if it's something as large as Bike Week, if we, God forbid, ever had something like that, we would have to reach out probably.
You would need her for that.
All for it. All for it.
Other questions? All right, would somebody like to, well, comments?
I'll make a motion
Is that
to
okay? There you
approve
go.
mutual aid agreement with the city of North Myrtle Beach.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Next is Mayor Council reports. I'll do a quick one. If you get a chance, the end of the year review, right here. Hold these up. I saw these. You posted it as well. I thought that was well done. I think that was you, Natalie, Sarah. I know there's numerous people, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a great synopsis of 2025. It gives a lot of good information for the community, so the more that we can get it out, but I show these is because I know you have those up front, the QR code. So, and then also get a plug real quickly for the police tournament, police department tournament on May 5th. Is that correct?
Golf.
At Boscobel. So keep that in mind. I know you are still looking for teams, so that's all I was going to say. Yes.
I'll just commend, I think everybody needs a reminder sometimes to follow the city on social media. Thank you, Bree, for all the work you're doing there. But they're spitting information out at a really rapid pace to keep people informed. And if you aren't following them on Instagram and Facebook, definitely worth seeking out because it's a wide range of topics that are covered. So thank you for the work you're doing there.
Well said. Any other comments? All right. New business? All right. Next, we have listed an executive session. I'm going to make a comment here and make sure everybody's, and then I'll defer to our city attorney as well, but I see we do have that potential executive session listed on agenda to discuss civil action number 2024 CP 3900901 with potential action coming out of executive session. As this matter involves alleged violations of the Freedom of Information Act, absent any objection, I suggest City Council take this matter up in open session without first going into executive session. And I will defer to our city attorney with other comments.
Matt?
Yes. Yes.
Unfortunately, I think Nathan's commentary may have been the shorter of the two. Mr. Mayor, members of council, I am comfortable doing this in open session so long as my discussion is limited to sort of general factual descriptions rather than legal analysis or legal commentary. And I'm also getting over whatever everybody else has been getting over, so I apologize if my voice is a little bit rough. If during this conversation with council there are specific legal questions that need to be answered, then I would strongly encourage council to go into executive session. As I've mentioned to council before, in any general context, there is always concern that having a more specific legal discussion in open session could lead to an argument of an attorney-client privilege waiver. With that said, I will try to, again, limit comments to general factual matters and process that is not likely privileged information. Related to this specific litigation matter, just as a reminder, and again, these are things that are all in the public domain, so please forgive any characterization of those as simply things that I think have been referred to, again, in the public domain. This matter involves allegations that the city violated various aspects of the Freedom of Information Act. Those are largely related to what I would call the hub project, although there is at least one allegation regarding a FOIA request regarding the TIF that was discussed in 2024, as I recall. This case was, let me make one other comment. At one point, the developer for the hub project was actually a party to the case, and the plaintiffs in the case, and we'll talk about that, ultimately settled with the developer, and so they are no longer a part of this case. It is just the two plaintiffs and the city. This case was formally mediated March 2nd, so prior to the last council meeting. The mayor pro tem, the administrator, and I were in Greenville with a third-party neutral who is an attorney who served as a mediator with counsel for the plaintiffs and the plaintiffs themselves. That mediation did not result in an actual potential settlement agreement. The way that would typically work for a government body is if a proposed settlement is reached, that would have been brought back, which was why this was on the agenda at last council meeting, because there was the presumption that it would be an option to have it discussed at that council meeting. There was no settlement reached at the conclusion of that mediation session. The city did present a proposed settlement agreement, and the settlement agreement tonight is largely, it is not identical, but it is largely identical conceptually to what was presented at the conclusion of that mediation session. There has been since then some back and forth communication between myself and the plaintiff's counsel. And again, I want to be very cautious about characterizing those communications. Obviously, settlement communications are not admissible for any indication of fault or liability. So whatever went back and forth between the two of us is no indication that either the plaintiffs had done anything or the city has done anything other than just an attempt to resolve a dispute between parties. However, there was some understanding that a near final settlement agreement, again, proposed, council still would have to take action, and obviously the plaintiffs would have had to have approved it, on Friday, with one issue outstanding, and I will come back to that in a moment. That may have been a misunderstanding, as a brand new, I'll call it a brand new document, a vastly different document appeared in my inbox this morning at about 10:37. So about 10:37. In addition to lots of other changes in what I may have misunderstood to be a near final settlement agreement, but for one issue. That one issue remained. And I am going to walk through the proposed agreement in full. A copy of that proposed agreement is with council, and also a copy has been delivered to the city clerk. I do want to reiterate, and it's interesting, Chief and I did not even script this, that part of the chief's description of the state of the police department in the city involved a lot of conversation about FOIA. We are going to go through some of how we got to where we are in this litigation in a minute. The one issue that is or appeared to have been the outstanding issue, and again, I think there are more issues now given what I've seen this morning, but the one issue that appeared to be the outstanding issue was a request from the plaintiffs that the city waive any potential liability against those plaintiffs for anything that they had done with respect to any involvement with the city up until the moment of the settlement agreement. So whatever that is, known or unknown, they have requested that the city waive that potential liability. I will not say out loud what my recommendation would be, but that was an outstanding issue as discussions had gone back and forth. So what is in the proposed settlement agreement that is in front of council this evening? In addition to what I'll call sort of your typical preemptory information, that is a preamble to the document, the statement of the parties to the document, which are the only parties in the litigation, that is the two plaintiffs and the city. At a very high level, there are a number of sections. One of them is the potential change to the city's FOIA policy. There is a portion of the current city policy that refers to the city's ability to redact what is called sensitive information. And at some level that appeared to be objectionable. The proposal would be to remove the use of the word sensitive information to reflect that the records or portions of records that are exempted, and I want to make sure I get the language exactly as it says in the proposal, if they are exempt from disclosure pursuant to FOIA or other state or federal laws. And that was what the concept of sensitive information was intended to capture. But the word sensitive information does not appear in the Freedom of Information Act. The other thing that does not appear specifically in the Freedom of Information Act, but there are references to other federal and state laws, are things like HIPAA, which of course the city would be able to exempt disclosure of that information under HIPAA, which is one of the federal laws that we understand FOIA intends to capture when it makes those sort of blanket references. Again, that would be a proposed change. And I'm gonna leave section 3 for a second, which I think is one of the larger portions of the document, and come back to that because I am going to, with council's indulgence, waste a whole lot of your time. I'll be back. Section 4, the proposal would be that the city would affirm its commitment to having public body meetings consistent with FOIA. That is, if it is a public body, that the city would follow the requirements of the Freedom of Information Act, which may include things like notice, agendas, etc. The next section was a proposal to pay for the plaintiff's attorney's fees and for the mediator's costs. The next section would be a mutual release of the parties related to this litigation, not related to a blanket release of the plaintiffs. The next section would have required both parties not to provide false communications about the litigation or the agreement, but would have, of course, allowed parties to provide truthful information about the agreement. No party, of course, would be admitting any liability, and the case would be dismissed with prejudice. And what that means is a very fancy term, and all that means is that no one could bring this specific case back. It is as if the case were fully adjudicated to a conclusion. The biggest, I think, at least from the number of words that are in the document, the biggest portion of this is Section 3, which relates to the public records. In brief, the proposal is to not only release all non-exemptable documents, both to the city's website, which the city has been doing with FOIA responses now for a year, maybe 9 months, 15 months, it's quite a while.
I think it's been more than
I think it's been more than a year. But the city would not only release the documents that essentially form, again, at least some portion of this basis for this litigation to the website, would provide a copy to the plaintiffs, despite the considerable expense to the rest of the citizens of the city of Clemson, free of charge to the plaintiffs. But what are those requests? I am going to read them out loud so that everyone understands what we're arguing about, good or bad. One request is for all emails to or from any of the current and former mayors, council members, or city employees named below to or from Mark Lifshin, excuse me, and I apologize, I don't know most of these people, so if I mispronounce their name, please forgive me. Brian Nicewender, Barry Howard, Andrew Savoy, or anyone affiliated with Core Spaces LLC from January 2023 through the date of this request, which was April 7th, 2024. All emails to or from any of the current and former mayors, council members, and employees named below to or from Greg Smith, Clifton Smith, Kevin Collins, or anyone affiliated with Kiwi LLC or Kiwi Trail LLC from January 2023 through the date of this request. All emails to or from any of the current and former mayors, council members, and employees named below to or from Jim Clements that references or includes the words, quote, Kiwi LLC, close quote, quote, Kiwi Trail, close quote, quote, student housing, close quote, quote, apartments, close quote, quote, housing, close quote, quote, dorms, close quote, quote, dormitories, close quote, quote, development, close quote, or quote, zoning, close quote. From January 2023 through the date of this request, communications requested for the following mayors, council members, and city employees include Todd Stedman, Andy, Nathan Woods, Allie Gant, Jacob Peabody, Tom Sparacino, Tim Fowler, Jim Oswald, Robert Halfaker, Bob Brookover, Alicia Smith, Lillian Boatwright, Catherine Watt, John Fulmer, and John Duckworth. That is one of the three. The second one. On July 21st, 2023, Andy Blondell sent an email with the sentence, I was texting with Tom to inquire about the status on an LOI and to get a feel for the level of entitlements Core would need from the city prior to purchasing the land. Please provide copies of all versions of the referenced LOI, including drafts that were received by or sent by any city official or city employee at any time after June 21, 2023. A copy of any letter of intent, LOI, that was entered into by a city official, an employee of the city, or an agent of the city on or after June 21st, 2023. If the city entered into an LOI, it is a public record and should be provided in its entirety without redaction. And the last one, which is over 3 pages long, please provide the following information or make available for inspection or otherwise provide electronic copies using the least expensive means available, the following. 1, minutes and agenda for any meeting from 2021 to the present. This was in 2025, I believe. October of 2024, I think. So 3.5 years. Minutes and agenda for any meeting from 2021 to the present at which the City of Clemson, through the City Council or otherwise, approved any request for proposal, invitation to bid, or solicitation for professional services or consulting contract for a tax increment finance redevelopment plan, including the Up-Down redevelopment district. 2, each proposal, bid, or contract for consulting or professional services received by the City of Clemson from 2021 to the present in response to any request for proposal, bid request, or solicitation for professional services or consulting contract for a tax increment finance redevelopment plan, including the Up-Down redevelopment district. 3, each email, correspondence, or memorandum sent by the City of Clemson from 2021 to the present through its City Council or otherwise to any consultant or professional services entity concerning a proposal, bid, or professional services or consulting contract for a tax increment finance redevelopment plan, including the Up-Down redevelopment district. 4, each email, correspondence, or memorandum received by the City of Clemson from 2021 to the present through its City Council or otherwise from any consultant or professional services entity concerning a proposal, bid, or professional services or consulting contract for a tax increment finance redevelopment plan, including the Up-Down redevelopment district. 5, a description of the date, time, methods, and duration of each instance, any public solicitation of a request for proposal, invitation to bid, or solicitation of professional services or consulting contract for a tax increment finance redevelopment plan, including the Uptown redevelopment district in 2022 or 2023. 6, if the proposal, and I apologize.
17, right?
There are.
Okay. Good grief. You got it. Take your time.
I am happy to suspend. I apologize, but I think council needs to understand, and quite bluntly, I think the public needs to understand what the nature of these requests are like.
Yes.
When they come to the city, and the quantity of time and effort that city staff, and to the extent that those involve either threatened, prior, or current litigation, to the extent that the city is engaging lawyers, whether it's us or someone else, to review the potential responses to requests like this, and why those responses generate potential fees from city staff or from lawyers or both. There are 17 in one request. 17 for 3.5 years worth of paper. Whether that ends up with 1 sheet or 100,000 sheets, the search would have to be done and those documents potentially reviewed to see, 1, whether they're responsive, 2, whether they're privileged or otherwise exempt. Ultimately, the proposal, and I will skip to the point, ultimately, the proposal is to respond to items number 13 and 14, which I will read as the last 2. Each email, correspondence, or memorandum sent by the city of Clemson from 2021 to the present through its city council or otherwise to any employee, official, or representative of Clemson University concerning the long-term lease of property owned by Clemson University within the redevelopment areas contemplated by the Workforce and Affordable Housing Redevelopment Plan prepared by Arnett, Muldrow and Associates Limited. And 14, each email, correspondence, or memorandum received by the city of Clemson from 2021 to the present through its city council or otherwise from any employee, official, or representative of Clemson University concerning the long-term lease of property owned by Clemson University within the redevelopment area contemplated by the Workforce and Affordable Housing Redevelopment Plan prepared by Arnett, Muldrow and Associates Limited. So, again, in essence, there would be the proposal to slightly amend the city's FOIA policy, which if city council were willing to do that, presumably could have first reading tonight. The substance of that revision is in the settlement agreement, the proposed settlement agreement. It would be to provide the release of the non-exempt documents for those three requests. And again, the last one, the longest one, it's only for items 13 and 14, which is a significant reduction in what the original request was. At no cost to the plaintiffs, and that would also be put on the city's website, as has been the city, again, the city's course of conduct for well over a year. That the city would affirm its commitment to holding its meetings of public bodies in conformity with the Freedom of Information Act, to pay the attorney's fees and the mediator's fees, attorney's fees for the plaintiff and the mediator's fees. There would be a mutual release of the parties related to this litigation, but nothing else. And then communications about the litigation or the settlement agreement would be truthful. No admissions of liability, and the case would be dismissed. Understand that this proposal is the city's proposal if accepted tonight. This does not mean this case is over. This means that if city council were to accept this as a proposal with whatever parameters, then presumably that would be transmitted back to the plaintiff's attorney and they would then do with it whatever they intend to do with it. I am maybe happy to answer questions.
I'll just offer, since I was there at the mediation, it was not a bad day. I mean, it was productive. It was, well-intentioned. So this is just building on the intention of that day to come to a resolution. Thank you for taking the time to break it down for us. I think what this enables us to do as a council is to take a step towards resolution and put the ball in the plaintiff's court, if we are all on the same page, without having to drag it out any further on the mediation side of things. Just offering my 2 cents there.
I see this as eminently reasonable.
I also will offer, I don't want y'all to freak out about changing the FOIA policy language, because all this does is align us with state law. It's not a bad change.
If I may, I will clarify one item. I don't think the city's FOIA policy was not aligned.
Right.
I think that the use of sensitive information was exactly what it was, a paraphrase in a policy to try to capture a large group of lots of information that, when it is appropriate under FOIA to redact, and by FOIA I mean the reference to other state and federal laws that also permit exemption, which are captured conceptually in FOIA, that's what they're talking about. And unfortunately, and again, the chief's brief presentation on this is a great example. What would be considered, quote unquote, sensitive information in a police report is going to be different, and frankly may be different if someone sends a FOIA request for the home phone number for the administrator. that may not be sensitive information under FOIA. But if someone sends a FOIA request and asks for the third level line employee who's driving the sanitation truck, that may be considered personal. It's actually an invasion of privacy is the way it's worded. But that may be considered sensitive information. So that is what that concept was intended to cover. This simply removes
Less gray area.
those words.
So, as the history of this, didn't their attorney extensively argue that this is simply a FOIA case?
That is what has been argued in open court repeatedly.
And this solves that? This addresses all the items under the FOIA case?
My understanding is that this would resolve, that this intends to address those issues.
But you started out mentioning the release, which is not written here.
The mutual release in this document would release the parties with respect to this litigation. Only.
But that's not all it's been asked for, right?
That is correct.
This is our proposal.
This is our proposal.
Correct. If the city council adopted it, this would be the city's offer of settlement essentially back to the plaintiffs, which would be a mutual release in this case and nothing else.
And if they do not accept, if we vote and it passes and we move, they put it back on the plaintiff's court. If they do not agree, then we go to a judge?
I fully expect that we will start depositions in April, if I had to guess.
This is March, okay.
So it's not a FOIA case. There's something else they want to do.
It would, even in general terms, not with respect to this specific litigation, I would be surprised if plaintiffs and defendants were not deposing each other about something.
But this is close to what you all discussed.
Yes, and if I may, this document is not wildly different from what we presented that day. This is very, very similar to what we presented that day. So on March 2nd.
Yes, and they did not agree with it, correct?
They did not. They were still,
They were still
deadline to
talking
come to
when
the
you
meeting.
left, okay. All right, they were still talking when you left, but.
And they continued to communicate with cause over since then, so.
Their lawyer just.
Sorry,
their lawyer, yeah, I've not spoken with the
Communicated
plaintiffs.
our lawyer.
Yes.
But it was yes, this is not far off at all.
Okay.
So it sounds like they're asking for things not related to this case.
A release for other unknown matters outside of the FOIA case seems like that is outside of the FOIA case.
But as well as I thought, obviously incorrectly, but I thought the FOIA case was all about the hub. And this is bringing up, a lot of this is about the tip.
Which was new.
There is one, there are a few allegations in, a brief procedural history, and I probably should have started with that. The case that was originally commenced was essentially all about the hub. During that time, while the case was pending, the city was discussing the TIF.
Correct.
During that time, a FOIA request was sent in, the very extensive FOIA request was sent in about the TIF. The response to that FOIA request was a determination letter from the city that indicated what the estimated cost would be to search for and potentially produce those records, which was apparently not what the plaintiffs wanted to see.
That's the 17-point
request. And that was then added to an amended complaint as an additional cause of action for alleged violations of FOIA with respect to the TIF. That's how it became part of this.
Tremendous amount of work attached to a TIF that didn't go anywhere.
Exactly. I
to
mean, it's
produce all the
taxpayer,
documents,
it's
yeah.
gonna be taxpayers' money, yeah.
I believe one of those 17 points in that one took 50 hours to do the report.
Things.
But no, our
money up.
proposal is just to respond to 2 of those
Correct.
17.
The 13 and 14.
Correct.
And standing here right now, although we have had, I mean, Andy knows, and if and Jeremiah knows, and if Lowell were here, he would also know. It has been, there have been a lot of hours spent attempting to eat, quite, regardless of this proposed resolution, my understanding is that the city intends to provide these documents on the website regardless.
Yes.
Notwithstanding this litigation, that is still, again, it doesn't matter whether there's litigation or not. The effort required to gather that information is extensive.
Any other questions? And the next step would be if somebody would like to make a motion.
Other questions or comments from anybody on this one?
So, let me just I just want to make sure I am understanding. This is, I know Lillian and some went to the mediation on March the 2nd, 2 weeks ago. At that time, there was not agreement signed between the two parties. There was not an agreement. So with talking with the plaintiff's lawyers, this is what we, as the city, is sending back as our part of making an agreement.
If city council approves it.
I'm sorry, yes, okay, thank you. If city council makes a motion and it passes, this will be sent, then they will have the right to either sign this or we will do depositions, as you said, shortly. Okay.
This is us working in good faith to hand them something that we believe is doing the right thing.
Okay. And it's mostly just changing the FOIA, doing 13 and 14 on the Exhibit C.
Not only that, you've got 3 requests.
Yes, the 3 requests.
13 and 14 of the large one.
Yeah.
The other 2 are shorter in the number of requests. I will not suggest that they are shorter in their effort to respond to.
Sure.
But
Gotcha.
Affirming open meetings for public
And
bodies.
paying their bills.
Correct.
And lawyers' fees.
And the lawyer fees.
It's listed in the document.
Right there.
Okay.
So we address everything in the case, and we do everything that's asked, and we pay their bills, but we don't entertain stuff that's outside of the case. For whatever reason, they keep asking for stuff outside of the case is the gist of it.
And if that outside of what we're offering is important to them, then there'll be depositions.
Yeah.
Then,
So then it's not a FOIA case that they've argued extensively as a FOIA case.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood with the,
Of course, yeah.
mediation.
and to that question, I started to go down this road a little bit. Again, in very general terms, with a government body, that is the necessary process, right? Again, forget this case for a second. Some representative, typically from the elected body, goes to the mediation. Again, that is effectively what the rule requires. Somebody who's got the ability to come back to council and present what was discussed. And in theory, if a resolution, tentative resolution, had been reached at a mediation, that person is to come back to council and say, this is what we all thought at the mediation was a good resolution. That is, again, typically an elected official, again, very often a senior staff member and the attorney. Again, every case. Even if there had been a tentative agreement on March 2nd, council still would have had to have reviewed it, discussed it, and voted yes or no. Here, you're effectively doing what could have been done March 2nd, but for the idea that maybe because council was having a meeting, including a public hearing, and so the three of us could not really stay any longer to see if there was going to be some resolution. There were those continued conversations, lawyer to lawyer, during the 2 weeks. Whether, and I'll say this so I don't get asked a question and have to deflect, I'll deflect affirmatively. Whether this proposal, if it's approved, gets approved by the plaintiffs. Someone asked about the crystal ball tonight for planning. If any of you have a magic 8-ball, you're welcome to share it with me. I will shake it.
But we're making a statement.
I have thoughts. I will not say those in open session, other than look at your crystal ball.
But it will be in their court.
It will be up to them. The parties are in active litigation, meaning there is a lawsuit pending. All the pleadings in theory have been filed that are going to be filed unless something changes. And so if there is not a resolution as a result of this, I do expect that very soon we will be doing written discovery and oral discovery, which would be depositions. And then at some point, there will be some motions practice, probably some substantive motions. We'll move for summary judgment. They'll move for summary judgment. Again, not speaking specifically about this case, but that's just the nature of what litigation is. And eventually, we'll be in front of a judge, or several times probably, before there's an answer, quote unquote.
Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it.
And again, I know this is a lot, and I know it's a late night already. I probably should have started with a little more procedural history, but you know, that's even more when people's eyes glaze over. So.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
So I'd like to make a motion, if you guys will bear with me, so I read this very carefully. I move that City Council, A, approve the draft settlement agreement effective March 16th, 2026, related to civil action number 2024-CP-39-00901, a copy of which has been presented to City Council and the City Clerk. B, authorize City Council members and City Administrator to execute the settlement agreement. C, authorize the City Attorney to deliver a copy of the same to the plaintiff's attorney for approval, execution, and return to the City Attorney no later than March 25th, 2026 at 5 p.m. D, authorize the release of the settlement agreement to the public. And E, give first reading of an ordinance to amend the city's FOIA policy as described in Section 2 of the settlement agreement. Is there a second?
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments?
You have to repeat all that.
I'll need a cheat sheet.
The only comment, what was the date again?
The 16th.
March 25th, 2026 at 5 p.m.
For the response,
Yes.
okay.
Response. So
Thank you.
that's.
Thank you for clarifying
A
that.
week from tomorrow.
A week from tomorrow, thank you.
A week from Wednesday.
Okay, so they have 10 days. 9, 10, okay.
Other comments, questions? I'm gonna do a roll call just to make sure, since it's, yeah, so I'm gonna do a roll call. We'll just go down the list. Councilmember Fulmer.
No.
Councilmember Cheryl.
Yes.
Councilmember Evans.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Yes.
And we'll just give them a
Yes.
Yes.
okay. All right, thank you very much. Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.